Hi, and welcome to the continuation of our workshop submission series on submitting workshops to PAS. This session is directed at developing high-quality goals and objectives. So why write goals and objectives? Well, there's two reasons. First, it's just good educational practice. A well-constructed workshop begins with learning objectives. Those learning objectives are tied to specific activities, and then those activities represent measurable outcomes for participants. And if you're not convinced by the educational theory viewpoint, objectives are also required for CME and are thus heavily weighted in selection criteria. So let's examine the difference between goals and objectives first. Perhaps the easiest way to differentiate is to think simply. Goals answer the what question. What's the purpose of the workshop? And objectives answer the how questions. How will I know I've accomplished these goals? And how will my participants know that they've accomplished these goals? So think of your session as a path from A to B. Your participants are starting at A, and they attend your workshop because they want to arrive at a better place, in this case, B. So let's look at an example by thinking about this particular webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to give you, a prospective PAS workshop speaker, the knowledge and skills required to write effective learning objectives. This is an intentionally broad aim. It's the reason why you're watching this, but it doesn't say how we've gotten you to that goal, and that's basically where objectives come in. The high quality objectives are SMART. They're specific, they can be measured, they're achievable, they're realistic, and they happen within a given time frame. A helpful way to translate the SMART framework into practical application is to constantly ask yourself these four questions. Who will do what, to what degree, and by when? To take that a step further, consider the following template to orient your objectives. If we organize our objectives by specifically calling out the time frame, the audience level, the verb or action, to what degree, and the what, we are able to answer all the necessary questions to generate SMART objectives. So let's consider an example. By the end of this module, the PAS presenter will construct at least 3 learning objectives that contain all 5 components required of effective learning objectives. So can you identify each of the 5 components here? So here they are. The time frame is the end of the module. The audience level is a prospective PAS presenter. The verb is construct. The degree is spelled out with specificity. It's all the components. And the what is the effective learning objectives. The key to writing any objective lies in the verb. The verb is the action. And there's a range of actions. So at one end, represented on the left on this table, we can have recall type verbs. Define the objectives, for example, would be one way of thinking about a recall verb. And then at the other end, we have verbs that require higher level action like analysis or synthesis. Construct a set of learning objectives. That would be an example of higher order thinking. This requires application and synthesis of the skills required. When choosing verbs, avoid vague ones that are hard to define, like know and understand. Seek some diversity, so not all are at the knowledge level, but all are also not at the high end, like analysis or synthesis. And ultimately ensure that you have alignment between your objectives, your content, and your assessment. So to put it all together then, you have a great idea for a workshop. That's essentially your goal. It's what you hope to accomplish. So the next step is to think specifically about objectives. Who will do what, to what degree, and by when. And from there, you can create a good roadmap outlining how to organize your objectives throughout the session. And finally, you can choose activities that align with those objectives. You are then well on your way to acceptance. Congratulations.